So I thought I'd show something I did on this tank here. It has the machine gun. This is the Heng Abrams, and it's got a light up here for the machine gun. You can see it. Well, the problem is when you put the barrel in there, you're barely going to see it anymore. So I ordered this. It's just fiber optic, and I don't have it glued in yet, but I did have to remount the back side just a tiny bit. And I'll glue this in place. You don't want to use CA because that'll melt it. It's not true fiberglass type of fiber optic. It's kind of a soft plastic. But what I'll do is I'll glue that, and it just fits through the opening on the back side, but it's got a little wobble on the front here, so I'll glue it and then let it set up. And then when I'm done, I'll cut it off flush. And then the other thing I'll do is on the very tip of the fiber optic is sand it some. And what that does is it refracts the light. So when the red is coming through, instead of like trying to continue to go out the end of the fiber optic, it'll make it brighter there. But you can see how much brighter that is. And like I said, when you don't have that in there, you don't hardly see it unless you're straight on. So I ordered the fiber optic through Amazon. I'm guessing that's the part number, but basically you're just looking for the 0.1 inch, 1/10 of an inch in diameter. And what I did is I used a 3/32 drill. And when I ran it through the barrel here, because the end of it, this whole section here is wide enough. It's just this end. I could pretty much do it with my fingers. And then I just kind of kept drilling, just kind of reamed it just a little bit, and that seemed to do a good job. I don't want to step up to the next size because then it'll be flopping around in there, and then the wall of this would be getting pretty thin. So I just used some epoxy and kind of filled up this end here before I put the fiber optic in there. And then I slid it down in there. I'll put a pretty decent amount in there. It doesn't matter if it pushes out the back side because that's gonna all dry and be cut. Before I had it where I wanted it, I did take a toothpick and kind of put a donut or a bead all the way around the edge of the fiber optic, and then just kind of pushed, not too much, but just enough, and pushed it down in there as I was slowly twisting it. It came in a packet that had it all coiled up, so that was the problem. It was wanting to go completely to one side, and I wanted it in the center. So as that started to set, I just kept my finger on one side of it to keep it in the middle there. And the next step is I'll probably wait a little longer. This cures in an hour. And then I'll just take an X-Acto and cut this end off nice and clean, nice and flush. And then the opposite side, I'll do the same thing, but then like I said, I'll take it and lightly sand it. Probably, I don't know, somewhere around 180 grit. Just something to give it some texture. So instead of that red light wanting to continue out like kind of like a flashlight would when you sand it rough up the edge, um, it hits that and then it doesn't want to travel out as much, so you get more of the bright red on the end instead of it shining out because you're not trying to use it as a headlight. All right, so I got both ends snipped. Went ahead and put it back in there. And like I said, I went in and sanded the end so it would refract more of the light. And then I just I did paint around the edge, just clean it up a bit. You can see you get a much better from just about every angle except behind it. You can actually see a little bit coming. Where's that coming from? Right through here. Anyway, I think this is the same case for the German Leopard. It's going to have the same deal where it's got the LED mounted it down here inside and then has a gun on it. The other thing I like to do on my tanks is I take some of the evergreen styrene. This is 1/8 inch diameter. So when you're in a battle with the infrared receiver, it helps make it a bit more accurate. You see this one's longer on the Bulldog. I just have to kind of play around. What I would do is set another tank out in front of it, or actually offset from it. And if it's somewhere out here and it's scoring a hit with the cannon facing the way it is, to me that's not realistic. So when I start moving, the other tank has to be at least within the track if the barrel's still straight. Obviously if it turns, that's a different story, but I would keep out from a distance. I'd move it in. And basically what that does is just helps focus those in there. Now I haven't done that yet on this tank. This will be a little different. It's recessed in here, so I'll have to cut a notch in the styrene. And then I always paint the inside black, and then the outside I paint it what color I want it to be, which I've got a color that's really close to this. And I think it was Tamiya Earth Brown or Flat Earth or something like that. It worked out pretty good. Can't hardly see it. It's not a perfect match, but that's what I painted this because it was metal. And you can't see the idler, but anyway, that's what I used and touched it up with. Kind of did the same here. This is a little more obvious, but I can't remember what color this was. But I did mix it. You can tell it's not a perfect match. I'm looking at all kinds of different grays. It ended up being like a medium blue, which that really blew my mind. I was like, how is that medium blue? And then this one, you can tell a little bit more so. Anyway, so that'll probably do it for this one. I do like to go back around all the lights. I'll turn them on, and you can see there's no bleed through on any of that. Usually I'll put some in the cap and let it dry. Well, not dry, but thicken, and I'll go in there and paint around the headlights on the back side, and then that way you don't get that bleed through on the back. Did the same with this. Well, actually, this one originally only had the one factory light was here. I disconnected it, and I painted all 4 of these little areas silver, and then I used a transparent yellow or amber on those 2, and then I went back and I drilled these out to accept an LED on each side the way it should be. I'm not sure why they only put a single light on the Bulldog. That's not the way it is. Anyway, it ended up a lot better than it was. I like the way that looks.